Melania Trump's dark past continues to surface, and Melania is panicking as the witness she feared the most is going public yet again. Drip by drip, Melania is being tortured by one of her former good friends, Amanda Ungaro. Ungaro was the previous girlfriend of Paulo Zampoli. Zampoli is purportedly the person who in 1998 introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump at the Kit Kat Club in Manhattan. Zampoli ran a modeling agency where he would bring in young Eastern European girls and women as so-called models. And Zampoli was also thinking about running a modeling agency with Jeffrey Epstein. More on that in a moment as well. One of the models that Zampoli brought into the United States was Melania Trump. At one of these Kit Kat Club parties with the models and the wealthy Manhattan men. That's where Melania was introduced to Donald Trump. Zampoli played matchmaker, and Amanda Ungaro, who's the mother of Zampoli's child, knew Melania and Donald very well because Zampoli stayed close friends with Donald Trump and Melania. And recently, when there was this Ungaro and Zampoli child custody dispute, Ungaro alleges that Zampoli used his connections within the government to expedite her deportation proceedings by Zampoli calling ICE. Now, you know from watching the MeidasTouch network that Zampoli has a position in the United States government now at an ambassadorship level. He's like an ambassador special envoy for cultural affairs and events. So he is always on the road with Donald Trump when Trump's visiting his fascist friends, or when you had J.D. Vance meeting with Orban, Zampoli is there. So Zampoli is very much in the know of all of these things. And so Amanda Ungaro just made a social media post after we had Zampoli on a Italian documentary that Zampoli tried to shut down on the Italian broadcasting network Rai 3, or Rai 3, RAI 3. And they got a lot of dirt on Zampoli. Zampoli had his lawyers try to shut down Rai 3. One of the things that Zampoli was saying on this documentary is that, you can't believe Ungaro. She's a Brazilian woman. Brazilian women, they're all about their telenovela lying. It's in their DNA that they're a bunch of liars. Now, that caused massive backlash at Zampoli, but that's the kind of guy Zampoli is. I mean, lots of people say Zampoli is, in their opinion, a dirtbag, a scumbag, and he always has been a scumbag, a lowlife, but someone who's always festered in Donald Trump's orbit. Somebody who these are the type of scumbags that Donald Trump likes. So why is this all a big deal for Melania now? Well, Ungaro previously said to the Courier and others that she had a lot of dirt, a lot of information about the truth about a lot of people based on what she knows from being Zampoli's ex-girlfriend and Zampoli knowing about that introduction between Melania and Donald. How did Melania get that immigration status to even arrive in the U.S.? Melania lied and claimed that she got a college degree, but it turned out she didn't get a college degree. She completed about a semester or two. So did she lie to get here? Was she really, doing what she said that she was doing? What's the real story with Melania? Zampoli obviously knows these answers, and Ungaro is implying that Zampoli told her. And it should be noted that, remember when Melania did that bizarre press conference about 2 weeks ago where she goes, I need to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. All of the Epstein photos of me and Epstein and me and Ghislaine are all false. None of this is true. None of the emails that you see, these are manipulators out there. There are fabricators out there, and they all lie. Maybe I shouldn't do the accent. Maybe I shouldn't. Tell me in the comments if I should. But she said that all the stuff is lies. The email between her and Ghislaine where she goes, gee, what do you look great in the New York Magazine article. So does Jeffrey Epstein. And the emails back from Ghislaine, sweet pea. I guess Melania is saying, I don't know, none of that's real. The photos of Melania and Jeffrey and Ghislaine. I guess those aren't real according to Melania. I mean, we know that a lot of those photos are real. I'm sure that there's some AI photos out there, but I mean, a lot of the photos are real. I mean, the key photos are like real photographs. But Melania giving that press conference, we now know, seem to be, in our opinion, of course, is related to this Rye 3 Italian documentary that was coming out that he sat for, that Zampoli sat for this. Zampoli's Italian, and they're one of the big Italian broadcasters, that he sat for it. There were these legal disputes, and it probably came out that he was going to, not look good on this documentary. You think he doesn't look good anywhere he is. And so that started her saying they were all of these liars and fabricators, and she was basically attacking Ungaro and Rye 3 and all of these people putting information out now about Zampoli. And then after Melania gave that press conference, Zampoli was like, I'm happy to testify before the House or the Senate to prove that I was the person that introduced Melania to Donald Trump in 1998, not Jeffrey Epstein. He did not make the introduction. Okay, Zampoli, well, you wanted to start a modeling agency with Epstein when you knew about all of the bad stuff, or you seem to, at least in my opinion, you seem to have known about a lot of bad stuff that Epstein was doing, and you wanted to start a modeling agency with Epstein, or acquire a modeling agency. Okay, so you were the one who made the introduction. Okay. And then Democrats were like feasting. They're like, we got Zampoli in a deposition? Sure. Let's take this deposition of Zampoli under oath. Let's ask him all the questions that were never answered about Melania's background. What's Melania's true immigration status? How did she get here? How did she get an Einstein visa? Zampoli, how would you work with your girls to get them expedited visas here? What was Melania doing here? How did the real introduction take place? What do you know about Epstein? Tell us all the dirt that Donald told you. What do you know about Donald Trump? And then what did the House Republicans do? You've been following the MeidasTouch network, so you know what the House Republicans did, right? They said, okay, no more hearings, no more subpoenas, no more depositions. Instead, we want to do roundtables where we're not even going to do subpoenas anymore. People can voluntarily show up. It'll be like an informal setting. And Democrats are like, absolutely not. We're doing subpoenas and hearings. What do you mean we're not doing hearings anymore? After Zampoli said that he was going to testify about Melania, Zampoli believed he was helping her. And then I think they realized, yeah, that's not going to go too good. And what else did we learn? We learned that Republicans in the House, according to James Comer, this is what James Comer said, Republicans in the House of Representatives are working with Donald Trump to get Ghislaine a pardon, and they're trying to expedite a pardon for Ghislaine. So you put all of these pieces together, and I had to give you that as the background, because now let's take a look at what that witness said. What did Amanda Ungaro, who's known Melania for like 2 decades, who's known Zampoli, who's in the world, so she knows everything, right? At least we think she does. Here's what she had to say. Here's what she posted. Amanda Ungaro posted the following message recently, just yesterday she posted this, on Saturday. There's nothing like a week to reflect upon the major events involving Paulo Zampoli, incredible as it may seem. There is a silver lining to every negative story. Yes, it has been 20 years of observing a mind bent on illicit activities, bribery, and sycophancy, with just one objective, an objective centered on the destruction of the female figure, involving a profound disrespect for women's sexuality. To Paulo Zampoli, as he himself claims, women are something he appreciates, specifically the beautiful ones. However, he was not molded or raised to appreciate them like a cultured gentleman, but rather like an abuser from the underworld. He vulgarizes women. He disparages femininity, the subtlety of women, with repulsive words. When speaking of women, he is actually speaking of his own twisted relationship with the very first woman in his life, his own mother. He hates everything that womanhood represents. To Paulo Zampoli, sex is a bargaining chip. It is a savagery, the manifestation of an animal acting purely on instinct. He managed to secure a massive contract that brought him grand promises and government protection. Pause there. Let me read that again, and let me read it to you slowly. He managed to secure a massive contract that brought him grand promises and government protection. Everyone knows to whom I refer. Everyone knows to whom I refer. Yet another slave to his power-driven threats. Paulo drips with sweat and is repulsive in appearance, a fact that is a constant source of commentary and disgust. In his latest triumphant gambit, he managed to offend every woman in the world, with a special focus on Brazilian women. Regrettably, he exploited my innocence, and through me, he was able to fulfill his great great dream of having a son, a child he has never cared for and never raised. As the old adage goes, the fish gets caught by its own mouth. The mother of his son is me, a beautiful, well-educated Brazilian woman from a family he never knew how to respect. I regret having given you the opportunity to become the father of my son. I deserve something far better than a repulsive worm like Paulo Zampoli, a man who fills so many things with disgust. You are a pathological liar. You have never sold a single apartment, let alone a 787 airliner. What you sell very well are the women, the ones you've always used like a big-time New York pimp operating under Epstein's command. Good luck explaining the diabolical connection that got you into the position you currently hold. She's referring to his position in the Trump regime. It must be costing you a lot of favors. You aren't real. You are a pathetic lie. Also, just to set you straight, since you are utterly devoid of intelligence, lying under oath, especially in the Senate, is a crime. You will look absolutely splendid in that orange jumpsuit you work so hard for, soliciting so many favors from Pam Bondi and Stacey Cleveland just to get me put in this place. What a ridiculous and pathetic role for a man of your age, to be so submissive and utterly devoid of self-respect that he goes to testify under oath and lies like a high school kid. You are a disgrace. You are a total farce. Now, one of the things that we're learning about Zampoli's appearance in this Rye 3 documentary is that this Trump envoy, the guy who introduced Melania to Donald Trump, said that he knew Epstein had young girls. And then when he said that to Rye 3, the lawyers of Zampoli tried to shut down this interview. Zampoli admission raised questions about his ties to Epstein and the Trump regime's response. There's an episode titled La Guerra de Epstein, produced by Rye 3. And in this, Zampoli says they weren't even models. Epstein came to me, we talked. Then the thing fizzled out, Zampoli said, before adding, I knew Epstein had the girls, but they weren't mine. They weren't even models. They were young girls. The models were a cover-up for Epstein, Zampoli says. Now, Zampoli's name appears in the Epstein files multiple times, and Zampoli said to the New York Times and other outlets, isn't it a good thing that my name is in there? Doesn't that show that you were influential and you were in high society, if you will? Words to that effect, that I was in the files. Now, Zampoli's lawyers and Zampoli deny the allegations against him. They tried to shut down this documentary by Rye 3. But they went on to publish it. But I think that gives you a full sense of everything that's going on. While that's all taking place, Ghislaine Maxwell sent a mysterious USB drive to the Justice Department very recently, asking for her case to be dismissed as all of this is going down, as the House Oversight Committee is now, with the Republicans, working with Trump to try to get Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. Look, even Marjorie Taylor Greene just posted, I'm shocked that some of my former Republican colleagues on the Oversight Committee are supporting pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. The Epstein survivors are adamantly against her receiving a pardon, as she was one of their main abusers next to Jeffrey Epstein, and they say she's a serial liar. If Trump gives her a pardon, it sets up a very potential for a quid pro quo. She will owe Trump. She will lie to protect people who ask her. 2 points I want to make about Ghislaine. Number one, Jen Shah, who was in that Camp Bryan, Texas prison facility with Ghislaine Maxwell. Here's how she describes what went down. Play this clip.
Another high-profile prisoner was Ghislaine Maxwell. Did you have any interactions with her?
I had interactions with her, limited interactions with her. I worked at Recreation, right? And so she would come in and work at Recreation. work out. But her experience there is very different from anyone else's, even Elizabeth and I. She is treated very differently there. And, I didn't have a lot of interaction with her. It was just on a very, she would come over and talk to us, or I would see her if she would, come by recreation. But, and honestly, I chose that. I chose to have very limited interaction with her. She made it very publicly known, well, at least to, Elizabeth and I, that there's no remorse there. And again, I obviously don't know all the details of the case or whatever, but we know enough. It was a lot when the victims would be on TV and talking. She was just complete disregard for them, and this is when they are pouring their hearts out in front of Congress and for this files to be released and stuff. And so to see that kind of behavior when there are real victims that you're seeing and what they've gone through, and to be so dismissive of that just didn't sit with me the right way.
And here we hear from an Epstein survivor attorney, Jennifer Freeman, what she thinks about the Republicans working with Trump to get Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon right now. Here, play this clip right here.
The chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, Republican of Kentucky, told Politico on Wednesday that some members of his committee are open to the idea of a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's convicted accomplice who's currently in prison, if it would lead to her providing information for their investigation. Now, Comer has not said that he is one of those, and he has not identified who is open to it. But what was your reaction to that?
That is deeply offensive and insulting, and a betrayal to the survivors. There is no good faith basis on which to believe that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to provide credible information. She was perjuring herself already and accused of perjury, and she has never expressed any remorse whatsoever for what she did. So why she should be believed, I don't know. So to give her a pardon in exchange for her, quote, cooperation is a betrayal to the survivors.
Finally, Ann Farmer said the following to the House Oversight Committee after news that they're working with Trump to get Ghislaine a pardon. Before you consider a pardon of a convicted sex offender and trafficker, imagine explaining it to your wife, sister, or daughter. Could you live with knowing that you've chosen to put a felon who recruited, groomed, and threatened underage girls and young women above survivors? I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe and let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.